Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we answer your travel-related questions from Facebook, Twitter, and email. On our panel this week, we have agent consultant Tracy Heinrichs.
Hi, everyone.
Client services manager for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Kevin Close.
Hi, everybody.
And back in the production facility, we have our producer,
Hello,
Craig
all.
Williams.
Oops. Wow, I jumped the gun there.
Man, you did. And you did so good on everybody else, too.
I'm embarrassed.
Man. A great big thank you to everybody who submitted your questions. We really appreciate it. This is actually going to be our third question and answer show. We have gotten so many that we just save them up for when we do another question and answer show. So keep sending them in if you want to have them answered. We don't know when our next one will be, but we will definitely save your questions. And you can write them. You can send them right to me, John at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Tracy, tell me how it's spelled.
John.
There you
He was
go.
just thinking the exact same
You should have
thing.
done it without me prompting you. And so, yeah, just send me your questions. And what I do is I save them all in a folder. And then when we do our show, we pick a bunch out and do them. We have some that we're going to try to get through as many as we can. If not, we will just save them for the next time. So we're always happy to have your questions. So let's jump right into it. Our first question is, where in the United States, the lower 48 states, would you love to visit but haven't been yet? I'm going to start. One of the things Kevin and I talk about quite a bit is when we are older and possibly not,
How much older?
a lot
Shut
older.
up, Tracy.
Once I have all the implants 120 years from now, we are planning to do something that we've never done, which is actually drive across country. We talk about seeing the great monuments of the United States, of seeing, parts of the United States we haven't had a chance to see. So that's something we're looking forward to do. Maybe get a mobile home and do it. Maybe just take a car and do Thelma and Louise style across the United States.
Right off the cliff.
Right off the cliff. But there's so much of the United States I want to see that I haven't had a chance to visit. So there's always some place to go.
For me, I love cities. We've been to Philadelphia now. We have great friends there. New York City, obviously, and Vegas, and cities in California. So, I would love to see Washington, D.C. I really want to go to, I'd love to see Denver, Colorado. And, Texas really is appealing. I haven't been to Texas yet.
That is quite the
I know.
dichotomy.
It's true. And so what you were talking about driving, Chris and I have talked about doing that many times, actually. And
You're already older.
the question, I am, that's true. And the question was lower 48, which is interesting because we've already done, we've gotten to do Hawaii, we've gotten to do Alaska. So those were big on our list. But I would love to, and I would love to do that same road trip, just traveling. We're actually
We
talking
should all
about.
go in the same
we
motorhome.
should. Yeah, that would be
We
awesome.
could leave a trail of dead bodies.
Yep, with our puppies.
Let me flip it on you. Is there any place in Canada you would like to go see you haven't?
I have been to many of the Canadian provinces. We got to do the Yukon, which was cool. I'd love to do the Nunavut and the territories. But Chris and I are talking next summer of taking 2 weeks and spending some time on the East Coast. I was actually born on the East Coast of Canada. I'm from Cape Breton, a little town called Glace Bay. And that's where I was born. So that's home for me. And so next summer I'm taking Chris there. And we're going to take a long train ride. It's about 24 hours from where we live to Halifax. From there, we're going to rent a car. We're going to visit all the eastern provinces, and I'm going to get to go to Newfoundland. I've never been to Newfoundland. And it's beautiful. Some of the areas of Newfoundland, beautiful fjords and national parks. So that's our plan for next summer. And a little bit of a road trip like we were talking about. So that's the kind of thing that we like to do.
We love to go overseas. We love to go to Europe,
Yep.
all the places we love to go, but there's just so many places to see.
That's the thing. We were talking about a lot of different places and a lot of the places we were going to go. We have a special anniversary next summer. And we kind of came back to, that sounds kind of like where we're at in our lives right now, that we'd like to do that. We're lucky enough to be able to see a lot of the world. And sometimes you forget to enjoy your own country.
Sometimes you need that time to build up the Alani money.
That's true. That's
to
true.
save up
So
a
you
lot of
have
it.
to. You do. So everything is about how I can get back to Alani. So if it means driving Canada for my 10th anniversary, at least I will get back to Alani the next year.
That is true. Kevin, anything I didn't cover when I was talking about it?
I have specifics.
Go for it.
I would like to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, very much.
But I don't know if I want to go there and just see that and get back on the plane. So I would like to sort of make that part of a larger thing. I really thought Seattle was beautiful. So seeing more of the Pacific Northwest, I think that sounds really nice.
Oregon and a little bit, yeah.
I would love to see the city of Chicago. I've read a lot about the city
I've
of
been to
Chicago,
Chicago.
and the World Fair
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I would like to see that, and I would like to see. I would like to see Palm Springs, California. I've never been there, and I think that sort of mid-century modern aesthetic
I
appeals
know it's
to
going
me.
to sound strange, but we went to Cleveland this past summer for and I thought Cleveland was a beautiful city. I didn't know a lot about Cleveland. So, I mean, that's why I say I like cities. I like going to different cities and seeing what's different and what's unique. And
Is where you live now more country?
no, we're in a city. We're I live in a major kind of technological city. Like we have a Google office.
Okay.
We have
Usually I find
major
that-
universities.
Usually I find that people who live in the country want to go to the city. People who live in the city want to
No,
go to
I mean we're about an hour outside of Toronto, which would be a major city, but we're still very much
I would also like to see the national parks, but don't want to camp.
right. So, like from an airplane?
You don't even want to glamp?
No.
No,
You don't even want me to say glamping?
there's not
I
enough.
want- I
There's not
want-
enough glam to make me want to glam.
That's right. Like I want to stay in a hotel.
Yeah,
I want someone else making the bed.
Exactly.
So I would like to see the national parks
right.
and the great lodges and stuff like that.
I think a lot of North Americans, we want to go overseas and we want to see Europe, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, we've seen a lot of wonderful places, but sometimes you don't sit back and realize just how beautiful North America is, and the U.S. is so diverse. You talk about the differences from one side to the other, and then you have I was going to mix Hawaii and Alaska into one state.
Alaska.
You have Hawaii and Alaska, and it's just
Craig, what about you?
I have to agree with basically everything that's been said. I've been up and down the East Coast enough in my entire life. I still have never been all the way down to Key West, so I'm hoping to do that at one point. But all the way up from Florida to I think I've stopped a little bit above Massachusetts. All those states just blend into each other. They don't matter. But I haven't been to Chicago ever before, and I really, really want to go there and do the Walt Disney Heritage Trek and go to Marceline and all of those places. But despite my outward appearance, I actually do really enjoy hiking and a lot of nature. So I would love to be able to go to the Grand Canyon, going up and down, then go into the Rockies and see Yosemite and Mount Rushmore. And I could spend a lot of time going out west and just
I bet you
being
Craig would camp.
immersed in nature. I'm not huge on camping. It's just something that I've never done, but if it was the only way that I could accomplish all of this stuff, I would absolutely do
What's
it.
the deal? I'm okay with Craig camping.
I'm still
care.
young enough to camp, I guess. So
Oh,
ouch.
You let him lunch, right?
Those are fighting words.
Young enough to camp.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm
Yeah.
thin enough and young enough to
We
camp.
might
That's
be
what I heard.
slower than you, but we're all bigger than you. And between us, we will catch you.
Well,
And I
there's,
have more insurance.
In about 5 more years, I will not be camping. Just my back already hurts
Okay,
all
move
the
on.
time.
Don't talk to him anymore.
5 more years. All right, we'll move on to our second question. My family and I are planning a Disneyland resort vacation. This will be a once in a long while vacation for us, and we want it to be special. Do you recommend the Backstage Magic Adventures by Disney for a first-time trip, or do you recommend just staying at the resort and doing things on your own? I'm actually going to start with Craig on this one. Going to throw it over to him and put him on the spot, because you've had a chance to do both of those
Yeah.
within the last 12 months, right? Or
A lot of
24 months, maybe.
Yeah, well, I've been to Disneyland now, I think 7 times in the past 3 years. It's tough for me to say. On the one hand, going to Disneyland first, for the first time and just being able to enjoy it on your own, you're able to get all of the rides and the attractions and the shows out of the way, something that on the Backstage Magic, you don't get that. You get the backstage aspect of it. So if you're going for the history aspect and to learn the knowledge, I'd absolutely say go with the backstage magic. If you really want to learn about what the park is and what its story is. If your whole mindset is going to just do attractions, then potentially not. Or in another way, you could start off, as we talked about on the ABD show, you could even start off on Disneyland, get a little bit of it, get the taste of it first, and then go back and learn the stories by following it up with a backstage magic trip. But it all depends on what type of fan you are.
I think when you talk about if you want to be the person who enjoys Disneyland, enjoys the park, the Adventures by Disney, you see some great stuff. You experience the rides and some attractions in a really great way, the way you might not have on your own through fast passes that they give you or group experiences. However, there's not enough free time to really just walk the park and just go leisurely and go from attraction to attraction and do the things you want to do. There's a lot of point A to point B type of stuff. And if it's your first trip to Disneyland, you will miss a great deal of Disneyland Resort on Adventures by Disney.
I think you miss you would miss a little, I don't know what the right word is, maybe the essence of the park. It's a very intimate park. You know, the fact that if you're staying on site and you can walk to the parks. And so I think for the first visit to be in Adventures by Disney may not give you enough Disneyland itself because your time is divided. I think a 2 or a 3 night pre-stay would be great, or 2 or 3 night post-stay would make it for a complete trip, because there's something to be said on the Adventures by Disney. Now, I'm kind of on the fence about this one because there's something to be said with Adventures by Disney that, you know, we just did Disneyland in February and we were not with Adventures by Disney. So I had to get my own spot for parades and fireworks and things like that. So now I'm 90 minutes to 2 hours in advance holding a spot to watch a parade or to see fireworks. So there were those benefits with Adventures by Disney. I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and going off of that aspect, actually a benefit of doing an ABD first is absolutely you get those viewing spots and make it easier. But another thing, if it's your first time trip, you don't have that attachment yet to all the attractions.
Right.
You know, so many people come to Disney World and they have to have that one park that they go into first, and they have to hit that one attraction, get that one snack first, and that's how they do it. If you've never been to Disneyland before, you can't really just guess like, oh, I think I'm going to emotionally attach to that. You have to actually do it. So, you know, having that preferred seating to World of Color fireworks, it's so nice.
Oh, for sure.
It's so nice.
Absolutely. So it's kind of...
Yeah, and I think the part about if you do a ABD first and then you're released into the wild, it's really kind of a letdown.
It's shocking to your system, really, because then there's nobody guiding you around and you have to maneuver the crowds yourself. And
snapping your fingers at people just doesn't work.
Doesn't work. And so...
Or saying, do you realize that on Adventures by Disney,
yeah,
so-and-so did such and such for me? Right. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I think in a perfect world, if I was doing this once in a long while vacation, I would come into Disneyland with a 2 or 3 night stay, probably a 3 night stay. I would then take those transfers, you know, start my ABD so that when I got back to Disneyland, I had a little bit more of a feel of what it's all about.
Agree.
You're getting into something expensive.
Yes, and that's why I say in a perfect world.
Perfect world, right?
Yeah. But if I had to choose, if somebody said you have to choose one or the other, I really think my first visit, I would want it to be a Disneyland only.
I agree. All right, let's move on to our next question. My computer's acting.
It doesn't matter. I don't have an opinion.
Oh, I thought you went already.
Actually, he didn't say a single word that entire time.
He's going to come to me.
All right, Kevin.
I agree with exactly what Tracy said.
Out, drop the mic.
This is recording, right? I'm going to play this
Only
back.
on that. I couldn't have said it better. I don't know that Adventures by Disney is your best first experience unless your interest lies in the facts, figures, history, legend of Disney. If that's your focus, an ABD trip is awesome. If your focus is, oh my gosh, I want to get into Imagineering, that's the way. If this is your first trip and you're a Disney fan, I would tell you stay at Disney first. Get that. I wouldn't have used the word emotional attachment, but Craig did, so I would. I would say that's
I agree.
Get that experience so that you can say, I've been to Disneyland like other people have. Then go do ABD and say, I've been to Disney better than other people.
Right, exactly. We talk about, you've mentioned in another show that this year, for the first time, Adventures by Disney has a new trip that focuses on Central Florida and specifically Walt Disney World. And as we look at the specifics of that trip, I certainly would not tell somebody, do that Adventures by Disney rather than Walt Disney World for the first time.
Definitely not.
Because there's so much
to know the park first before
That's
you.
what I think.
Before you, in my opinion, I think you need to get your experience in the park before you learn the history of the park. I guess.
Right. And the thing is, I see these adventures by they're almost kind of like next level.
Right.
So I'm a real Walt Disney World fan. So I could see this new Adventures by Disney. This is kind of the next level.
Right.
And this is okay. How am I plussing it now?
Isn't that terrible that we're willing to tell people to do Disneyland first and we sell Adventures by Disney?
Well, you know what?
Well,
I
we
think
sell all the products,
we
all
do.
the
I know.
destinations.
I'm only talking about me.
It's a selfish moment.
But I also think, though, that people can appreciate that about us.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna get kind of our real opinion.
The backstage magic is spectacular. I don't think any of us think that should be your first experience.
Agreed. All right, our next question. Do you think Disney World is a bad idea for a honeymoon? My wife and I hadn't been to Disney in years, and then when we went, the day after we got married, we felt like every minute we didn't move, we were going to miss something. And we were just as exhausted when we came back as before we left.
Well, I did have my honeymoon in Disney World after I got married in Disney World. So I think I might be qualified to take this one.
All right.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think what might be a bad idea, and I use that loosely. I don't mean to say it was a bad idea, but I think
Say bad idea again.
bad idea. It's a bad idea for you to continue to say bad idea. I think that it's about expectations and what you want the trip to be. So had our honeymoon been all about, we only want to do attractions and we got to see this and we got to see that and we got to do this, we may not get back, I think it would have had a different feel. But it was more about enjoying I can't say this because you're going to laugh, but the adult side of Disney, because it sounds like a weird,
La, la, la.
like Disney dark side, right?
Exactly.
But Disney can be a very adult destination. There's a lot of great restaurants. There's a lot of, great experiences to have. So I think it's what you make it. I think if Disney is your honeymoon, maybe you don't want to plan morning to night park time.
However,
Maybe
this
you
also speaks to the question itself, speaks to the type of person who wrote it and says, I felt like if we didn't move every minute, we were going to miss something.
I think that can be true, though, for just about anybody that plans a Disney vacation.
Exactly. I don't
Exactly,
think,
right.
But I also
Not
think
just for
it
your
really
honeymoon.
depends
Right.
on both members of the couple.
Exactly.
If you're thinking about that, you're both going to lay on the same chaise lounge on a tropical beach someplace where
Right.
somebody stealthily brings you coconut drinks and you can just stare lovingly into each other's eyes. Yeah, that's a bad idea. I think I could
think
enjoy
if
my
you-
honeymoon on
right.
Broadway in New York.
I mean, clearly, we got married in Disney. We were on the same page,
Right. I
as
think
to
that's
where we
really
wanted to be.
important.
So I think being on the same page is important. But I do think there's ways to combine them both. So maybe on your honeymoon, you want to visit the spa. Maybe you want to make, enjoy nice dinners or do a tour. I think there are things that you can do that don't make it a theme park vacation necessarily. And so maybe there's a balance. Maybe the afternoon is theme park time while the morning was enjoyed.
I think you have to have that conversation with your significant other,
Yeah.
what your levels of expectation are. If you don't want to wear a wristband, you might want to pick a tropical beach someplace and save this as a more hectic trip.
But you can also have a Disney vacation that isn't moving every minute of
Oh,
every
yeah,
day. You
for
can
sure.
have a honeymoon.
Yeah, but
that's
not
a-
if you're the type of person who's going to feel like you're missing something.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
And
yeah.
that's the thing. And I think a lot of, and not just for people who are honeymooning, but I hear from a lot of clients who want to plan every minute of every day. I get those emails to say, I've got 5 nights. I want, I need the water parks. I need all 4 parks. I'd like to get to Universal and SeaWorld. And if I have time, I'm going to go to Kennedy Space Center. We get
I
those
want
emails.
breakfast in the
all
Magic Kingdom, lunch in Epcot.
Right. And so I really do try to talk people down and, and say, let's back up.
Because you're not going to feel rested
That's
at
right.
all.
And just
or rejuvenated.
That's right. And if you miss something, I think it's better to miss something than to not enjoy what you are seeing. I'd much rather do 3 quality activities in a day than to do 7 that, you know, I can barely remember, or I
Rush
feel
from one to
frustrated.
another, right?
We've
That's
been
right.
with young adults, young kids, actually. And one day we had a conversation because we were standing in line to, let's say, Space Mountain. And we were still in line for Space Mountain, and they wanted to know what we were going to do next.
Right.
And I said to them, let's work on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Let's work on appreciating what's in front of us. And I think if you have that mentality of where do we have to go after this, that to
And
me
people
is not
have different
relaxing at all.
personalities. So, like, you know, like this question, if this is your personality that you feel, I'm going to be missing something, I have to go, maybe it's not a great idea for you.
Unless your spouse is of the same,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
If John's idea of happiness is sitting around watching zombie TV shows.
I guess I don't even know what's up with that.
All right. I don't know where that came from or where that went.
So I said, what I meant was, if you said to me, listen, on our honeymoon, I want to go someplace where, you know, we're going to see where zombie movies are made, I would have to say I don't think that's my idea of what a honeymoon is. So I think
Gotcha.
you really have to have that conversation.
Understood. All right, we're going to move on to our 4th question. In the last earnings call, Tom Stagg said, quote, I think there are opportunities. I apologize. This was pulled out of context, but it was Tom Staggs talking about growth at Disney. And it says, I think there are opportunities given the strong occupancy of room nights that we see to consider expanding our hotel capacity down the road. The person who asked the question says, so I was wondering where you see the need and or opportunity for expanding hotel capacity down the road at Walt Disney World. More DVC, more deluxe or value because they fill up before moderates, more opportunity for growth at Walt Disney World or Disneyland Resort. You know, it's, I believe that at this very moment, something is being built. There is a piece of land over by where we come in on Osceola Parkway. That to me looks like something is in the process of being built. My assumption at the moment is it's going to be another hotel to fill capacity. So I think that's what we're going to see. Certainly more growth at Walt Disney World. And here's the deal. DVC is such a cash cow for this company that they can't get hurt by building DVC properties.
I was going to say, as a DVC member, I hope it's not more DVC.
But it's not aimed at you, the already member.
I
It's
know.
aimed at the person who wants
This
to
is the problem.
come in.
There's so many contracts being sold that I find as a DVC member, if I'm not able to book at 11 months or 7 months, I can get nothing
But that's
or
why
very
more
little.
hotel rooms are good.
But the more hotel rooms they build, the more contracts they sell. So
That's
now there's
true.
more people vying for the same hotel room. So it just kind of has become this vicious circle.
There's also, the parks are crowded. So there's going to come a point when we've reached maximum density.
Right.
And I mean, like, if we talk about Disneyland, unless they start adding floors to the Grand Californian, there's not a lot of land left there to start building more hotels there.
But I think with World, I think a lot of the decisions they seem to be making and with vacation packages and different things seems to me that I think the whole My Disney experience, it's all about getting guests to stay on property. And so I don't know that it would necessarily increase park capacity if they get more of the people staying off-site to stay on-site.
I would like to see them build other resorts similar to Aulani with that level of detail in other parts of the country.
That would be interesting.
I
That was
think a resort adjacent to a national park. I think a resort in Alaska. I think a resort near the Grand Canyon.
Right.
But it has to have that level
It
of...
has to be Aulani-ish.
Right. I've been to Vero Beach.
Oh, I see what you're
And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful oceanside hotel. It doesn't have the level of detail,
Right.
but Vero Beach also doesn't have the cultural
Right, sure. That
Support.
Aulani has.
support
Yeah.
of Aulani. So I would like to see them do that. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I think that gives people a chance to get some... It might give people a chance to get their Disney fix closer to home.
I think if we're looking on-site, I'd like to see more moderate more moderately priced
I agree.
rooms and resorts. I think for the most part with the values, as an agent, it's very rare that I can't get my client a value. I think moderates, especially moderates that sleep 5, would be a nice addition. And I think some kind of an alternative accommodation. Like I know we have DVC villas. We have the family suites at, at a couple of the value resorts. So something along the line of a family suite, but at a moderate level. So something in between what they're doing at the deluxe villas, but maybe a step above the value family suite.
What Disney should do is steal Cabana Bay's idea.
Yeah.
Cabana Bay, in my opinion, has some of the best hotel rooms for families.
I actually
there.
find, like, in the last few months, I've stayed at both Art of Animation Family Suite and Cabana Bay Family Suite. The Cabana Bay, and both of them I stayed with my parents, so we were extended. And I found the suite at Art of Animation to be far more useful
Oh, really?
than Cabana Bay. A couple reasons. One, Cabana Bay had 1 bathroom. Art of Animation gave us 2 full bathrooms. It had that 1 bathroom with all those doors happening. So if you were going to pee, then you remember, oh crap, I have to go over here to shower. And so there was that going on. And I found space-wise the family suite.
Did our iTunes rating just change?
The family suite at Art of Animation to be more spacious. So for us, now when it was just Ben and I, and we stayed at Cabana Bay, I thought, oh, this is great. I love it. I love the layout. But somehow when it was more of us, which I would think would be typical to a family
Well,
suite.
also, you're talking about then for adults.
That's right.
And then while Ben is an adult now,
Yeah.
it's still, you're traveling with your child. So I think there's a little bit different
Right.
dynamic.
It's different when it's an extended family thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think a member of
You
Separate
want a little
bathroom.
bit more
family.
space.
Right.
And I think that's more, we're seeing that a lot more. We're seeing that trend. We're seeing grandparents traveling, with extended family. We're seeing, grandma and grandpa coming with mom and dad and the children. So having options for those family units that are, like I said, a little bit above maybe what the family suites are doing, but not at the same dollar value that the DVC villas are. So it would be nice for me, it would be nice to see something moderate, something more to sleep 5 in a more affordable price point than just the deluxes would be nice. So that's why I say moderate. That gets my vote.
And I see Cabana Bay as their family suites as a true value rate at a family suite,
right.
whereas Art of Animation would be that moderate. So I get it. You're talking about just right in between moderate and deluxe, but some word they haven't come up with. But just in general, I think they could use another moderate. It's nothing against French Quarter or Riverside or Caribbean Beach, all of those. They're just getting... I think they're starting to get stale with time. They could... a new type of theme that is completely different to come in and brighten things up a little bit. I think it could be useful. And
Like a Frozen resort.
yeah,
Oh, my Lord.
Frozen.
I'm so glad you came up with that
With
idea.
the Frozen and the Star Wars wing.
Well, if we are right in that what they're building is over by Osceola Parkway, by Wide Roller Sports, you're talking about certainly not a deluxe location. So you could put a room in there that might be a little bit more expensive, but have better features and amenities for a family and still keep it in that price category.
Because we like the family suites at Art of Animation. We like them for the space. We like the 2 bathrooms. That works for us. But I still kind of want an upgraded resort experience. If I'm looking at just a resort, typically now I'm staying between moderate and deluxe. So I want, maybe some upgraded amenities and little better linens, and maybe the mattress is a little better quality.
Let's talk about it more from what we see as travel agents. You say that you can get clients into value. Can you get clients into moderates, or is moderates where the
Moderates are
sticking points?
tougher. Moderates can be tougher, especially depending on room types. They have a lot of room types. So if I want an upgraded room type at the Port Orleans Riverside, like for example, one of the Royal Guest Rooms, often those are available, but not something that's more standard or garden view. So it's always an upgraded. Caribbean Beach, there's always pirate rooms available. I think because nobody wants them.
Remember when they were such a big deal?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, pirate rooms.
Only Disney can take, the farthest rooms in the resort, theme them pirate, and charge them a premium for them.
That is true. Paint a headboard and call it pirate rooms.
exactly.
You have to store the brooms in here.
Yeah. We stay at French Quarter a lot. If I'm staying moderate, it is my favorite. It's no secret.
What about deluxes? Are we finding
I think it
availability
depends.
issue
We're not
for
always.
deluxes?
we're not always getting the first choice for deluxe, but I think there's enough deluxe inventory that I rarely find that I can't get what somebody wants. It might not be the exact view, or there might be some adjustments there, but generally speaking across the deluxes, I would say the family of 5 at a moderate is probably our hardest placement. Mm-hmm. And the people who want something that what people are getting off site is this villa experience, but they're not getting it at DVC Vacation Villa prices. Mm-hmm. So
Disney
I think they
used to have that before Saratoga Springs became Saratoga Springs. They used to have those villas
Disney
out
Institute.
there. Well, and before that, it was
the villas at Disney Institute.
The villas and before that,
I don't know what was before that.
But
I'm out.
It was that villa type thing, and I just don't think they were popular.
Yeah.
There was another issue though with the Institute in that they became very run down.
Right.
They were very drab. If you've ever been in one,
I did. My 40th birthday party was at one.
Yeah.
And weren't
So
they like
those
kind
are-
of cave-like
Yeah,
and
those
dark?
are a little different than what I'm thinking. Those were kind of no, because I remember driving. Remember you could go down the river on the boat and you would see those things. And they looked so like lonely. And,
Concentration camp.
yeah,
Oh, concentration camp.
more like more resort feel. So, if I could build a Disney resort right now, based on what I'm seeing as an agent and where I'd like to have more inventory and options for my guests, that's where I'd put it.
Excellent. All right, our next question. How do you avoid falling into a travel rut where you just keep going back to the same places rather than try new ones? Well, we just keep going to different places.
I was just going to say, we just go
Yeah.
someplace new.
I for a long time, Disney World, a vacation was my reality. I was traveling alone with my son, who had some special needs, and that's what worked for us. So a lot of times, that vacation was at a necessity more so than choice.
However, Disney,
But it was
there was so much to do. It never
that's
really
exactly
was
what
a
I was going to
rut.
say. That's right. So you never really felt like you were getting into that rut because there was always something different or new or something was happening. So
I'm at a point in my life, and I realize this is weird, where I grew up going to the Jersey Shore, and we went to the Jersey Shore every summer until we found Walt Disney World. And then for years and years and years and years, we came to Walt Disney World every year. And I've stopped doing that for several years. And the last time we were in Alani, I said to John, I would like to ensure that I can come back here every
Yes.
year. And we actually went out and bought a new contract, more points to ensure, and our friends did too, so we could mesh them together. And I think I'm looking forward to the idea of going back to some place where I'm so comfortable.
that's right. And we've been talking about this exact same thing. And when we were looking at, and I talk about everything, I'm a travel agent, so I travel for free and I get to see the world for nothing. That's just not true.
It's not true.
It's just simply not true. I pay for my vacations like everybody else. So I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do with my vacation dollars and where I want to put them. And for us, when we started talking about, I mentioned our 10th anniversary before, when we started talking about what we wanted to do next year, it's just, I kind of want familiar a little bit. And so it's not a rut anymore. And the great thing is, first of all, I don't get into a travel rut because I just refuse to. So I'm going to go somewhere new. I'm going to go somewhere different if that's what I need. But we've decided that Alani is now, that is what we want to do. We want to be in Alani every year.
And I think there's enough to explore both
That's
on
right.
the resort and outside the resort that I don't feel like same old yet.
No.
So I feel very, very comfortable there. I feel
Right.
very peaceful there. I feel very relaxed
Me
there.
too.
So
It's one of the most relaxing vacations that we have.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I still want to go see every place else.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I'm kind of looking, I wouldn't call it a rut either. I'm kind of looking for that repeat
Right.
experience.
People have said to us, well, you've taken the Italy Adventures by Disney 4 times, it must get boring. Or the Backstage Magic, however many times, it must get boring. It never gets boring.
If somebody called me and said, you can go to Italy,
Right.
you got 45 minutes, I could have everything in the suitcase and be in the car in 45
Right.
minutes. I would go do that trip 4 more times, 14 more times. Anytime it was the possibility arose.
And I think one of the ways we like to travel, I've mentioned before as well, is that we like to cruise. And I think with cruising, you avoid that rut because you can try different ships, you can try different itineraries.
Well-
So while the basis of it is the same, there's ways to shake it up enough.
And even though we've been to the Eastern and Western Caribbean a couple of times, sometimes for us, the ship is the vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go and relax.
And I would hate for anybody to get into it. If you're in a travel rut or you're going, maybe you need to skip vacation this year.
Right. Save for a bigger
maybe
vacation
you want to save
next
for
year.
something else next year. Because to me, traveling from a very young age, when I grew up, traveling was not part of our reality. You know, I wasn't going to see the world. I wasn't going to, you know,
Yeah, me
we
too.
did
No,
not.
I wasn't either.
Right. We did not grow up in an environment where, but I read a lot. So I would read about places that I wanted to go, and I would read books. And from a very young age, I always wanted to travel and see the world. So I think traveling should be exciting wherever you're going. Whether I mentioned going to Cleveland, you know, if it's wherever you're going, it should be exciting. It should be fun. And if it's not, then, you know,
I
it's
was-
okay. Maybe it's a break.
I was 46 years old the first time I went any place out of the country other than either a cruise to the Caribbean or, as I said, Niagara Falls. I went to Italy at 46 years old. That was my first European trip. And the fact that I saw the Statue of David, I thought, I've arrived.
The first time I went to Europe was with you.
To Italy.
To Italy. That was my very first time in Europe, was that trip.
So I think, you know, people think, oh, well, you know, you've traveled your whole life. I haven't.
No.
I grew up going to Wildwood, New Jersey. And trust me, I love Wildwood,
Do you
New
know what's
Jersey.
really funny? You know, when I went to Disney World for the first time in 2000,
Really?
I'd never been to Disney World before.
in the
Always wanted to
90s.
go. Dreamt about it. But it was 2000, very first time I went.
And I think if you're referring to Walt Disney World as your travel rut, I think Walt Disney World offers so much. Stay at a different hotel.
Yep.
That'll change your perspective.
Go to Disneyland.
If you're working with an agent, ask for what else can I do?
Right.
You know, I have clients who've booked with me just about every year now. Great Disney World vacations for their family. And so this time he said, okay, we booked it. What else can we do? What do you got for me? Like last time you suggested this and this and we loved it. What's next? So like this time they're doing a fireworks cruise. They haven't done that yet. So, you know, ask for advice, talk to your agent and see, you know, what can you do that's different? What's new?
I know people who go to the same cabin in the same mountain lake
Yep.
year after year and look forward to it every year.
Absolutely.
If you're in a travel rut, you need to change it. That's
Yep.
you.
Change it up. Absolutely change it up because rut and travel should not be in the same word or same sentence. Sorry.
Or just be fortunate enough that you get to travel to begin with.
Yeah, a lot of people
also
out there
nice.
who would love to
Yeah.
be able to
Or
travel
just if
anywhere
you
for
have
sure.
vacation dollars and you feel you're in a rut, spend those vacation dollars someplace else.
Right.
I remember when we were a kid, we used to go to Wildwood, and I loved Wildwood. I still love Wildwood, New Jersey. I keep repeating that because it's true. And my mother and father decided one year to take us to the Amish country in Pennsylvania.
It's the
And
same,
you,
isn't it?
You know what we learned? We missed Wildwood. Spend your vacation dollars someplace where you're not having the best time. I mean, I enjoyed the Amish country for a day.
Yeah.
We used to go away for a week, and you think to yourself, I'm not in a rut anymore. Take me back. Take me back.
Exactly right. Rut over. All right, we're going to do one more question, and then we're going to close out the show with I see all these people going through TSA pre-check at the airport. I've never gotten to do that. Is there anything I can do to have a better chance to get TSA pre-check? Well, I guess we should probably let people know what TSA pre-check is before we go on for folks who don't know what it is. This is the line at the airport that generally has a little bit less strict security, so people can go through a little bit easier. You don't have to remove your laptop or your liquids from your bag or your
your
shoes.
Take your
Belt.
belt off. Or,
Correct. And it's just a way to help alleviate the lines going through security at the airports, get a few people through a little bit quicker. From a regular travel standpoint, from a you've booked your trip and you're just going standpoint, there's really nothing you can do.
It's very random.
Yeah,
But I've
it's very
also
random.
just read that there's been, I don't know what the word is, maybe legislation passed, that it can no longer be offered just random.
Oh, really? I haven't
That
heard
it has to be people with, I know in Canada we call it Nexus, but I think Global Entry.
Right. I'm going to talk
that
about
it's something
the
that you pre-apply for, that you apply for in advance. Now, I was flying not that long ago, and I randomly got it when I was leaving Orlando.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's not come into place yet, but I think that random selection, I think we're going to see
Might be
go
going
away.
away.
I think that in the past, was given to people who travel frequently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seemed like people who might have been on
And
frequent
sometimes
travel
they would
or
just call
Premier.
you over. If you were in the regular line and that line wasn't busy, they would just randomly start calling people over. And I don't think they're going to do that anymore.
I want to also point out too, one of the things that I believe was part of it was if you were elderly, they didn't want to make you remove your shoes or your belt or your jacket. So that would be part of the process to assist you through that line a little bit easier and not be as traumatic. But again, there's nothing you can do from a regular, you can't, make googly eyes at the TSA agent. You can't smile nice or say nice things and have them accept you. It's just not done that way. However, there is a program here in the United States called Global Entry or Trusted Traveler. Kevin and I are both members of that. Known Traveler. Kevin, why don't you tell a little bit of what that process was for us and how that helps us?
You go online, you look for Trusted Traveler, Known Traveler, Global Entry, something along that line. There is a form you fill out, and you submit a $100 fee, a registration fee. You then have to set up, once you're approved, it takes a couple of days. Once you're approved, you have to make an in-person appearance. On the site, there is a list of local airports. I know Orlando has one. We made an appointment, showed up on the day we were supposed to show up, and there's an interview. And I know they fingerprinted us. They did a background check, and there is an interview. What do you do? I don't know that the questions were all that pointed. Maybe that was just for us, but it seemed like a very
easy process.
An easy process. Yeah. If we were in the interview and we went together, so there were two of us, I'm going to guess all told for the two of us, there was a half hour.
Right. We had done it because someone had told us about it, and they said, well, just be prepared. They're going to do a background check on you. And the person who told us about it said he had a parking ticket or something that he never paid when he was a kid.
Right.
And he said, this showed up on my report. He still got Trusted Traveler, and he still was able to take part of the program. But this is the type of background check they do to make sure you're not a felon or...
Now, when we did it,
like
he told us this may be good for 5 years, maybe good for the rest of your life. Maybe you'll get a card. It's all too new.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to happen. So what you then have to do is, as John has said earlier, we like flying Delta. So what I do is I go in and I created a profile in Delta. You can do this in any airline you might travel with. And there's a place for your known traveler number. So when I book airline tickets, when I go through, I put my name and I put my frequent flyer number in it, and all of my information populates. And one of the things that populates is my known traveler number. Now, when I go to do the check-in the night before, and I print out my boarding passes at home, my boarding passes say TSA pre-check on them.
Right.
This was $100, and I will tell you, this is the best $100 I've ever spent.
Exactly.
Yeah, we keep talking about doing it as well. And I know for Canadians listening, Nexus would be the same kind of program, same kind of process. You fill out a form online, and then you have to go to a meeting with basically TSA border type people. So I know, again, airports like Toronto Airport would have one, or the bridge in Buffalo, if you're crossing over. So places like that is where
I'm pretty
you would
sure
go
that's
for
who we
your-
went to talk
for
to
your
too.
in-person. And for the most part, from what I've heard, the questions are sort of the same kind of questions that you would get if you were just showing up and trying to cross the border a little bit. What do you do?
Why do you want
And-
this? What do you do
and-
for a living?
Right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
stuff like that. So we're definitely going to do it. And one thing to know is that when you're traveling with it, and I'm sure it's the same for the known traveler and the Globalist Nexus, is everybody who you're traveling with has to have it. So you can't bring somebody into, that known traveler line with you
That's
that doesn't have. So each person does need to have it.
I flew with
so
my
children,
dad, right?
Right.
And so my dad didn't have it. Luckily, the agent said, listen, he can go through this
Right.
line. But what I would have to do is go through the regular line with him.
Right.
So we weren't
So
split
if you're
up.
a family of 4 with children, every single person would have to apply and have this.
Now, I can also tell you that it works really well here in the States. I've not flown to Canada, but I know flying out of the States to Europe, it works. But this doesn't exist in Europe.
However, that is changing. We actually experienced that in Dublin.
Right.
Coming
Dublin
back,
is one of the only European airlines or European countries that does USA pre-check.
I also
the other thing they did
Shannon
was-
did it too, but I wasn't
Yes,
sure.
Shannon does it too.
When you went through security, you actually entered U.S. space.
Yeah.
So you went through
terrible.
customs in
Yeah.
Ireland. So
Yeah.
that's not
That's true.
really the best example.
However,
because that
that-
is completely different.
The person we talked to there said that this was going to be the way of the future in Europe. That this is in order to
Yeah.
entice more folks from the U.S. and Canada and other places to travel. They were going to make it as easy as possible.
I haven't seen that yet, so I hope that's true. Now, I can also tell you that we flew out of JFK on our way home from a trip to New York City, and there was only one line, and we said to the lady, we're in TSA pre-check, and she went, that lady didn't come in. She's sick. Get in line.
Exactly. Get in line behind the regular people. All right.
So we ran into a situation where the TSA pre-check lady was late or not coming that day.
She
so
wasn't feeling well
That line got closed out.
She's on
because
break.
JFK is a very small airport. So if that
Who
lady's
uses
sick,
JFK?
yeah, if that lady's sick, that's it.
I think it's a New York thing because I know it's happened to me at Newark and LaGuardia, both too.
And there's that whole New
the
York
same lady.
attitude that goes along with it. Stop complaining and get in line.
Exactly. Get up behind those other people. Cannot speak more highly enough of it. If you are thinking about it, do it. Just bite the bullet and do
If
it.
you travel frequently,
So
this is
worth it.
such a time saver. Just not taking all that stuff out of your bag. I mean, you still have to go through the scanner.
My biggest thing was actually the laptops because I generally will take Kevin's laptop in my bag. So then everything came out. You can't leave your laptop even in a sleeve.
No.
So then it comes out. And,
And then it
it's
needs
no
its own bin.
iPads. Right. It needs its own bin.
I
wasting those
invariably
bins.
don't do well in that simple thing. I apparently have something in my armpit,
Oh, I was like,
which sets. I have to go through the thing where you raise your
Mm-hmm.
hand, and it's in my left armpit. There's nothing there that I know of.
Every
but
time he
that's
makes
the
a-
one that lights up. What do you have in your armpit? And I think, gold bars of what? I don't know.
That's where I'm smuggling my Cougarans
Really?
That's right into my armpit. You know,
Apparently, there's something in my armpit that makes that machine jump
you
live.
may want to see a doctor.
Could you remove
Yeah,
whatever's
can-
in there?
or at least find out what it is.
And I've had a person say to me, "Are you pierced?" And I was like, "People pierce their armpits? No, I'm not pierced." Not that there's anything wrong with being pierced. I just
Exactly.
didn't think they did it in your armpit.
so absolutely positively. If you've listened to past shows where we talk about we answer questions, two of the things we recommend highly: get a passport and sign up for Trusted Traveler.
You travel with any frequency at all. Do it.
All right, that'll do it for our question and answer show. Thank you guys very much. For those of you who watch the show on a regular basis, you know that we end each show with our agent spotlight. This is where we highlight one of our Dreams Unlimited travel agents who could not be here or possibly can't come to the studio. And this week we are highlighting Andrea Cummins. Andrea is actually one of our newest agents. She is a self-proclaimed theme park junkie with over 18 years in the travel industry. She's spent her career planning trips to theme parks all over Florida and California with a special place in her heart for Universal Orlando, Disneyland, and Walt Disney World. You never know that I actually wrote these. Andrea's personal adventures have allowed her to travel to all of the destinations that she loves to sell, including honeymooning at Walt Disney World and well over 100 trips to Disneyland. Before she was a travel professional, Andrea was a cast member for the first Disney store in Seattle. She loves helping theme park fans create vacations that leave them with memories that last a lifetime. Andrea specializes in Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and Universal Orlando vacations. And you can contact her at Andrea@DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com.
That's ANDREA.
At DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. Thank you guys very much for a lively
I've reached
conversation.
punchy, have you?
You have reached punchy. Thanks for sticking with us. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We truly appreciate it. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.